Hey, everybody. Okay, so I have a problem with books. This is a picture of a wall in my living room. Those are all of my books, some of my books. Those are actually my art books. They're my most prized possession. I've been teaching art history at Parkland for about 6 years, and I'm always fascinated when some of the students have this preconceived idea that art history is boring. So I'm going to show you guys a few non-scholarly, by the way, examples of some of these themes and why art history is not only interesting but also haunting and sometimes even shocking. So some works of art really entice some anger in people. This is the Velázquez's Rockaby Venus. In 1914, Mary Richardson, a militant suffragette, slashed it 7 times with a meat cleaver. She was tired of how men gaped at it all day long. Another piece that seems to incite people is The Night Watch by Rembrandt. This poor piece has been attacked 3 different times. 1911, 1975, it was attacked with a bread knife, a lot of damage. And then 1990, it was actually sprayed with sulfuric acid by an escaped mental patient. Luckily, only the varnish was affected on that. There's also crazy love stories in all those books. A good example would be Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. Very passionate but dysfunctional relationship. Multiple infidelities, married, divorced, married again. But at her death, when she was cremated, he actually supposedly took a handful of her ashes and ate them so that she would be with him forever. On the flip side, you have Lizzie Siddle and Dante Gabriel Rossetti. After she died, he was supposedly so devastated he put all of his poems in her casket. A few years later, he kind of rethought that whole thing, actually had her coffin exhumed and disentangled the poems from her hair. A lot of courageous pieces from art. This is a piece by Marina Abramovic from 1974 to kind of test the whole limit between the artist and the audience. She passively stood there while 72 objects were displayed where they could do whatever they wanted with it, one of which was a gun and a single bullet. Another very courageous piece, and one of my favorites, is simply called Dead Dad by Ron Muick. It's a very haunting image made out of silicone and mixed media. It's actually a corpse of his father that had recently passed away, and it was his way of saying goodbye. And it's actually at almost half scale, which is kind of interesting, and he used his own hair in the piece. Lots of rebels in art. This is Rosa Bonheur, who's a 19th century female artist who specialized in animal paintings. So she had to go to the slaughterhouse to do some studies, but she liked to wear pants. Well, she actually had to get permission from the cops to wear men's clothing. She had to actually get that renewed every 6 months or so she could wear pants. The ultimate rebel, Caravaggio, he had quite the rap sheet, including murdering somebody. And he also got in trouble with his choice of models. This is The Death of the Virgin by Caravaggio, and supposedly he used the bloated corpse of a prostitute that had just been pulled from the river as his model for the Virgin Mary. Ego and narcissism is huge. This is the tomb of the first emperor of the Qin dynasty. He commissioned over 8,000 life-size statues to be buried with him to guard his body in the afterlife. So it probably took about over 700,000 men to create all those different pieces for him. Another different aspect of narcissism, you have Piero Manzoni, who sold his breath and his poop in cans. He made 90 tin cans, and they were originally sold for the value that was equivalent to gold. But then recently, it's like 2008, one of these babies sold for $150,000. I'm also amazed by the obsessive ritual by some artists. This is Gnaw by Janine Antoni. She took 600 pounds of chocolate, 600 pounds of lard. She gnawed on them for 1.5 months, chewed it up, spit it out, melted it, and recast it into heart-shaped boxes and lipsticks. Also famous for a super labor-intensive ritual-like process is Tom Friedman. And he made this piece, which is actually made out of 1,500 pieces of chewed up gum. He's also famous for carving his self-portrait on the face of a baby aspirin as well. There's scandal, tons of scandal in art history. One of that is theft. Speaking of the Mona Lisa, she was stolen in 1911, but she was found 2 years later. Unlike the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, where in 1990, over 500 million value of works of art was stolen, and that's actually still completely unsolved. And then there's personal scandal. John Singer Sargent painted this painting of Madame Goutreau. I think he thought he was going to blow everybody away, and instead it basically ruined both of their reputations, all because of that suggestive placement of the one strap, which, as you can see, he then painted over and pushed it up, but it was way too late at that point. I also love it when artists document actual events. This is Watson and the Shark by John Singleton Copley. 14-year-old Brooke Watson was swimming alone in the Havana harbor and got attacked by a shark. He actually lost his lower right leg, but ended up being saved and survived and commissioned this painting for the event. Another crazy event, very famous painting, Raft of the Medusa by Theodore Géricault. After a horrible wreck, about 147 people were left on this makeshift raft, and after 13 days, only 15 people were left. He did intense research on it, including bringing severed limbs home to the studio to study the decay. And then lastly, I just really enjoy the whole mystery of paintings. I've read a ton about this painting by Manet. You can read what the art historians say, what the artists say, but every time I look into her face, she's telling me something more, and it just makes me keep coming back. And that also relates to my own paintings, which I wanted to end with, because I'm inspired by all those different themes that I just explained. As an art historian and a painter, I think they complement each other very well. So I'm both inspired, but also incredibly humbled. So thank you very much.